Have you ever had something important to say, but before you even said it, you were already making edits, already softening it, already rehearsing how to phrase it just right so that they wouldn't be upset, already preparing your apology for the reaction you hadn't even received yet? Maybe you added a just to the front of it. I just wanted to say, maybe you opened with something like, I could be wrong, but, or I'm sorry to bother you, but, or maybe you talked yourself out of saying anything at all. And then there are other moments, they may feel more rare, where something in you just holds, where someone expresses disappointment or frustration or tries to make you feel guilty for a choice you made. And instead of collapsing, you stay. You don't know exactly where it comes from, but something in you doesn't move. Both of those experiences, the preemptive editing and the unexpected steadiness, are telling you something about disapproval tolerance. And today we're going to explore both. Hey, it's Kelly G, your Radiance coach. Welcome to the Embodied Radiance podcast, episode number 12. Many of the women I work with tell me they're afraid of visibility, afraid of being seen, of putting themselves out there. But when we go a little deeper, what they're actually afraid of isn't visibility itself. It's what visibility might cost them. Someone misunderstanding them, someone judging them, someone being disappointed, someone pulling away. And underneath all of it is something really human. The fact that we are wired for connection. Disapproval feels threatening because on some level, it always has been. And so we learn to avoid it. Of course we did. So here's how I've come to think of it. Disapproval tolerance is the ability to stay rooted in yourself while being imperfectly or even painfully perceived. It's not the ability to stop caring what anyone thinks. That's not the goal, and it shouldn't be. Disapproval tolerance is the ability to remain connected to your own truth, even when someone else's reaction feels like it's trying to pull you off center. Disapproval avoidance shows up before anyone has even reacted, and disapproval tolerance comes in after they have. So let's look at both. The first place disapproval avoidance shows up is in our language, long before anyone has actually disapproved of us. I want to credit Tara Mohr's work in her book, Playing Big, for this teaching, because it really helped me understand how this shows up for us. Think about how many times you've started a sentence with, I just wanted to check in. I'm just wondering. I just think maybe, or something like, this might be a silly question, but, or I'm no expert, but I could be wrong, but. Tara Mohr talks about these kinds of phrases as hedges. They're ways that we soften or qualify what we're saying. And once you start listening for them, you may be surprised by how often they actually show up in your own talk. They're preemptive apologies for taking up space, attempts to soften the blow of our own voice before anyone has even had a chance to react. What's happening underneath all of that softening is this. Our nervous system is trying to manage a disapproval that we haven't received yet. It's running a prediction that they may not like this, and then editing accordingly. And it connects directly to what we talked about in episode 9 with congruence. When you hedge and soften and pre-apologize, your inner truth and your outer expression aren't matching. So you're showing up in incongruence, in real time, in your own words. Disapproval tolerance is what allows you to come back to a congruent state. And then there are moments when disapproval actually arrives. When someone expresses frustration or disappointment or tries to guilt you into a different choice. So I want to share a story from my life here. Years ago, in my early 20s, I was managing a hair salon. And one of the owners had been training me for about a year. And looking back, I think she really had plans for me to eventually take over so she could step away. But I had reached a point there where I felt like I learned all I was going to learn. And an opportunity arose for me to become a sales rep for a beauty supply company, something that felt really exciting and growth oriented and more aligned with an adventure of getting out of one building all day long and exploring what the world had to offer. So I interviewed and I got the job. And then I had to make the call to my boss. I already had a really strong feeling that she was going to be unhappy with my decision. I thought about how to soften it, how to phrase it, how to make it easier for her. But eventually, I just had to pick up the phone and tell her. And she was definitely upset. She let me know very clearly that she felt like I was letting her down, that she had invested in me, and that I owed her. And the more she talked, something in me became more and more steady. I remember sitting down on my bed in my little apartment and saying something to her along the lines of, I am so grateful for everything that you've taught me, and I'm really sorry that you feel that way. But I am not responsible for making you happy or obligated to stay because you don't like my decision. I am responsible for making the decisions that feel best for me and for making myself happy. I wasn't unkind. I wasn't aggressive, but I didn't collapse. I didn't over-explain, and I didn't take responsibility for her reaction. Honestly, I have no idea where that rootedness came from in that moment. I wasn't working with any framework. I didn't have language for disapproval tolerance, but something in me recognized that she was trying to make her disappointment my responsibility. And I knew somewhere deep inside that I wasn't responsible for it. What surprised me most wasn't that she was upset. I expected that. What really surprised me was that I could survive someone else's disappointment without abandoning myself. I could stay in that discomfort. And that's probably why I remember that experience so clearly, because I was surprised by that in myself. Someone else's discomfort isn't automatic evidence that you've done something wrong. Sometimes it's simply evidence that you've honored what you know to be true for you. What I've come to realize is that both of these moments are asking us the same question. Can I stay connected to myself when approval isn't guaranteed? Before we speak, we often try to manage someone else's reaction before it even happens. And after we speak, we often feel responsible for managing the reaction that we do get. Either way, our attention leaves us. It goes outward to what they might think, how they might feel, whether they're okay, whether they still like us, if they're disappointed. And somewhere in all of that, we quietly stop asking the only question we actually have control over. Am I still connected to myself, to my truth, to what is right for me. And that's the real practice. Not convincing everyone to understand you, not eliminating the fear, not making sure that everyone else approves, simply staying with yourself. Because someone else's feelings are not yours to manage. I'm going to repeat that. Someone else's feelings aren't yours to manage. Their feelings matter. They deserve compassion, but their experience is not yours to carry. Your responsibility is to tell your truth as kindly and clearly as you can. And their responsibility is to manage what they choose to do with it. This is disapproval tolerance, not hardening yourself against other people's reactions, not pretending you don't care, simply remaining connected to yourself while allowing someone else to have their experience. Yoga has a beautiful word for this capacity, sthira. It means steadiness, not rigidity or stubbornness, just steadiness. The kind of stability that doesn't require life to become easier for you to remain rooted. The kind of stability that lets you stay connected to yourself while the world around you is having its own experience. And the beautiful thing about sthira is that it can be practiced. It can be built. It's like a muscle you can strengthen, not through willpower, but through building evidence. Every time you say the thing without the hedge, you build evidence. Every time you hold your ground when someone pushes back, you build evidence. Every time you let someone be disappointed without making it your responsibility, you build evidence. Evidence that you can handle being imperfectly perceived. Evidence that disapproval doesn't destroy you. Evidence that you are safe enough to be seen as you actually are. And over time, your nervous system begins to experience and expect something different. It begins expecting that you'll stay with yourself, that you can maintain, that you can regulate. And slowly being yourself starts to feel safer than performing for approval. Okay, so let's bring this into the body, because disapproval tolerance isn't just a mindset, it's a somatic experience. And before we can stay rooted in ourselves emotionally, it helps to know what feeling rooted feels like in our physical bodies. So if you're able, I invite you to come to a standing position. Place your feet about hips width apart and begin by bringing awareness to your feet. You can do this standing or seated. With standing, you're going to be able to feel the pressure just a little bit more. Press down into the knuckle where your big toes meet your foot. And then press down into the knuckle where your little toes meet your foot. Now press down into the inside edge of each heel and then the outside edge of each heel. Feel all 4 points connecting you to the support beneath you. Now gently plant the pads of your toes into the floor without gripping too hard. See if you can lightly lift through the center of your foot, through your arch, creating a sense of rootedness, support, and spaciousness. And take a long, slow, full breath in and out here. Now, once your feet are rooted, imagine that you're trying to gently slide your feet away from one another, pressing out without actually letting them move. And you should feel your legs engage as you do this. Feel the strength that begins to rise up from the ground. This isn't rigidity. This is rootedness. It's sthira in your body. Now stay here. Keep that feeling in your legs, in your feet. Feel the ground beneath you. Now bring to mind a situation where maybe you edit yourself, where you soften your message, you pre-apologize for your own voice, or a moment where someone has expressed disappointment in you and you felt yourself start to collapse. Notice what happens inside you as you bring that moment to mind. There could be a tightening, an urge to shrink, a feeling of uncertainty. You don't need to do anything with it. Just become aware of it. And now come back to your feet. Press into all four corners. Gently lift through the arches. Feel the quiet strength as you're pressing your feet away from each other, even as they're rooted. Feel that strength rising from the ground up within you. So take one more slow breath here. And from this place, rooted in yourself, ask, what would it feel like to speak from here? Not harshly or defensively, just honestly as yourself. You can imagine that situation that you've already experienced being rooted here, or you can envision a future experience. You're building the muscle memory to come into this rootedness anytime you need it. That's the practice. And every time you return here to your feet, to your breath, to this quiet steadiness that is available within you, you're teaching your nervous system something new, that you can stay connected to yourself even when someone else doesn't approve. Disapproval tolerance isn't about convincing everyone to agree with you. It isn't about becoming someone who never cares what other people think. It's about becoming someone who no longer abandons herself in order to avoid someone else's discomfort. Whether that shows up as dropping the hedge before you've spoken, or holding steady when someone tries to make their reaction your responsibility, the practice is the same. That's disapproval tolerance. And every time you practice it, you become a little more free. So until next time, feel your feet, trust your truth, stay rooted in yourself, and let your life shine.